Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. I am Helsing920, and I'm going to be your host this evening. Tonight, I'm going to be watching a movie that I have actually wanted to watch for many, many years. It is an Italian horror classic from 1980 called Cannibal Holocaust. What I actually find a little bit funny is, even though I absolutely adore gore films and I love horror movies, this one I've never had a chance to actually watch. And this is going to be my first time watching it, thus why I can do it for a reaction and review. Now, I honestly don't have I really don't have a whole lot to say about, the movie. If anyone really wants to know about this film's infamy, you can just go and look it up. There are plenty of websites which cover everything which makes, this movie is, famous or, infamous, depending on who you're talking to. You can go and look up that. Now, I do want to say that that the version I have here claims to be the uncut version. However, though, it's actually a little bit hard to, to actually figure out if that's true or not, because I've heard of at least 4 or 5 different edits that all claim to be the uncut version. The version I have runs 90 minutes. The longest version I've heard of runs 110 minutes, but I couldn't find a copy of that one. So I am stuck with this one, and if this one is the true uncut version, then I'm going to get to see everything, and if it's not, well, then I'm out about 20 minutes. So, whatever, it's just time, guys, to sit back, relax, and enjoy, or at least hope to enjoy, Cannibal Holocaust. Okay, guys, this honestly is a little bit of a bad sign here. This film, which is supposed to be ridiculously graphic and gory and nasty, just listen to this, guys. I mean, it's starting off with a really, mellow and laid-back sort of song. The last movie that I was told was nasty as hell and did this was Salo. I hated that movie. I'm really hoping that this isn't a sign of things to come. Okay, guys, you know what? I honestly just have to say this. This is really a catchy frickin' song. I'm probably going to have to look up the soundtrack later and download this. This actually is pretty cool. Okay, I really hope that, that honestly is not the search and rescue team running around and just randomly shooting up everything. That is not the way that a search team should work. Okay, it would have helped if we had subtitles for, this scene. Plus, it looks almost like it looks almost like the dialogue's been, looped in. If you were going to loop it into a foreign language and release it into an English market, couldn't you just have dubbed it into English in the first place? Just asking, Holy shit. I think I just saw a live butchering of a fucking muskrat. That was nasty as hell. Okay, I really do hope that we happen to get some sort of explanation to explain why this guy's spazzing out. Right now it's just screaming and writhing around. It's actually a little bit off-putting. I honestly am not one to split hairs, but seems a little difficult to actually go and slice open a human body using a dull club. And yet, well, the cannibals were able to pull that off. Okay, now that is the second time that they have shown this. I'm really curious exactly how the hell you are supposed to cut flesh with a rounded, blunt club that just barely looks like an axe. Who knows? I honestly, though, I'm not going to complain too much because, well, so far the movie's pretty good. So, it's just that damn club is just starting to bug the shit out of me. And now, folks, we now get into what everyone has been talking about, which is the lost footage that that they were going into the jungle to find. This, according to what I've been told, is supposed to be the nastiest part of the entire film. I think I've just seen another live animal mutilation since there were limbs moving when they chopped off the head. This time it was a turtle. Really big turtle. God, that's just painful to fucking see. And they're still butchering the turtle. Oh boy. I've gagged at least 3 times so far. This is just disgusting. Is it over? Can we please move on to another scene? This is... Oh god, now they're playing with the organs. So, this fucking pinhead's been walking around in the jungle for days. He takes off his boots, never bothers to look in there to see if a snake climbed in. I hope he fucking dies the retard asked for it. I believe that's another one. That is another live animal mutilation. This time it was a monkey. And this time, honestly, it wasn't as obviously fake like it fucking was in Faces of Death. This is like fucking monkey is still twitching even after they chopped off the top of its head. God damn it, that's just sick. What the hell?
Human history.
Okay.
Things like this happen all the time.
That one somehow is the sickest out of all of them, guys.
The daily violence of the strong overcoming the weak.
I just saw what looked to be a piglet shot right in the head. Well, that's one way to do a frickin' abortion. Oh, and then they kill the would-have-been mother on top of it all. Well, the Amazon's a little bit different. I am gonna have to grant them that. Yeah, I believe that this is what led to these 4 getting fucking killed off. That is usually what happens when you go and you gang rape the member of a tribe. You're probably going to get royally fucked up. God damn it all to hell. Why do I find movies where dicks are chopped off? What the fuck is this, guys? Like the 4th one? The 5th one? You would almost think that I would have gotten used to it by now, but no! I'm not. That was fucking disgusting. Well, folks, that's it. The film is over. And my copy here apparently did not have all of the end credits, so I don't have to stop it. So I'm just going to just close out the player, though, just so that way it's not there. Now, wow. I am going to say this right now. I loved this movie. No matter how horrible a handful of scenes are, I'm just going to come right out, guys, and say it. This is probably the best movie I've seen since I started Reaction and Review. It's really hard to explain why I feel this way. I think it has to do with just how powerful everything is. The acting, all of it is real. Well, I can't really say the acting is really strong. The acting does have points where it gets really, really horrible, and there are a lot of points where dialogue is obviously looped in, but that honestly probably just couldn't be helped. Lighting honestly was sound. Cinematography was great. Now, I am going to say this. When I mentioned the article on Cracked, everything else that I had read about when it came to this movie, it all came back to me. And I am going to say this right now. Every single spot where I mentioned them actually, the possibility of them actually killing an animal on camera, yeah, they actually did. Those actually were a turtle, fucking squirrel monkey, a pig. It's like those were actual those were actual animals that they slaughtered on camera for this film, and that is actually the one thing that usually gets cut out of most versions of the movie. That's usually the way you can tell you're watching the uncut version, is if you see them take a fucking like muskrat and, you know, slice it up, and you get to watch it slowly fucking bleed out. That is how you know. And those scenes are probably the most nauseating in the entire film, because where everything else is actually, you know, fictional, and everything else is actors and sets and special effects, well, minus the bit where they herded everybody into the hut. Those were actually people inside a burning hut. But still, but now, like, those. Now, I'm gonna say this, guys. I also mentioned earlier, during the actual reaction portion, I mentioned the Faces of Death film, and I've seen all 4 of the, you know, primary Faces of Death movies, and all of those also have footage of animals being killed, but most of those are in a slaughterhouse, and they're just as nasty there as they are here. If that honestly is something that you would find a little bit iffy, that you wouldn't want to watch, then I strongly suggest looking for a version that doesn't claim to be the uncut version. Otherwise, by all means, guys, look for it. This honestly is a pretty good movie. Now, after finally watching it, there's one thing I'm kind of curious about. Because the filmmakers, if I'm not mistaken, were actually brought up on trial because it actually was thought that everything in this film was real. Now, I would possibly believe that if it was just the found footage. If it actually was just the 4 filmmakers in the jungle, and you're just like looking at their footage, then I could totally understand it. However, this thing has a very large framing story, which takes up the first half of the movie, which is a totally separate group looking for the footage, or just looking for the filmmakers to see if they're still alive. And with that thing there, now with that fucking like framing story there, it is really obvious that this thing is a work of fiction. So while I honestly could understand, you know, the filmmakers being brought up on animal fucking cruelty charges, the fact that they had to prove that the person who was impaled was actually just a special effect, I guess that they might have found like a body impaled and filmed it, but they actually had to prove that was an actual effect. And it honestly is a really good effect. In fact, I am going to say that the movie has really good, it has like really good effects like all over. So if you guys are honestly looking for a really good movie, and you honestly have no problems with, you know, like gore and guts, and in certain cases animals being killed, then hey, man, by all means, look for a copy of this movie. It actually is pretty good. And with that, folks, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I'll see you all in the near future. Peace.